All right. We have Chris F for our show here. He's multi-talented. I know him as a competitor, leverless expert, content creator, and coach. He covers multiple 2D and 3D games in his YouTube channel and Twitch channel as well. Outside of FGC, he is a bodybuilder. Please welcome to the show, Chris F.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Chris F here, and I'm happy to be here, and I can't wait to start this interview. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Chris F. I'm a content creator and competitor. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I stream multiple times a week, and you can find me there. YouTube, Chris F. Twitch, Chris F_22, and Twitter is Chris_F_22.
All right, so welcome to segment 1, the setup. We're going to have Chris F play the FGC bingo. Basically, we'll have him play a set of rank match, and then see how many bingo cards he can fill in. And we'll have Chris F here.
All right, I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be fun. So we're gonna be playing City of the Wolves, right?
Yep, that's right. So since it's limited to a set, a little trick that you can think of is if you're winning already like 1-0, you can actually intentionally lose the second one. So then you get more games to play in your rank set, right? Because if you win 2-0 in your rank set, then you only get 2 games to fulfill the conditions. But if you throw 1 game, you can get, potentially 3 games to get all the bingo. So that would be my tip. But it's up to you. If you can finish all the bingos in the first 2 games, then props to you.
Gotcha. All right. So complete as many lines as possible in one match. Okay, let's run it. I'm gonna try and do this. Yeah, Kevin's a really good character. He basically all damage, no defense. So if you're able to get in, get an opening, you do one big combo, do a mix. If mix works, you pretty much win if you have super. But if not, you have to hold. Definitely not what you want. Character. Buttons are really good though. Got some really great normal buttons. But again, no anti-air, DP, no invulnerable reversals outside of his super. So if you're getting mixed, you kind of gotta have really good defense, which just over 1 week into this game, I do not have. I'm fighting against Marco. Kevin is kind of rough against fireball characters. Marco's not that bad. He does have a roll that he can use to get through fireballs, which I'm gonna try my best to use. But let's run it. Alright. Well, I don't think we're dead here. I tried to just defend that.
Wait. Round 2. Get ready. Fight. SPG.
Okay. Big damage down. I got it. I don't think I'm hitting any of these bingos though.
Yeah, you hit 4 just defense, but you're too short. Is there a specific line you're going for?
Yep, I'm trying to get as much of a life lead as I can, and then trying to take these throws. It's not working out for me. Ah, the rev blow. Okay. Oh, I won. I didn't get bingo.
It's not at
You're
least one more
so
game.
close with the SPG though. If
I get one more?
if you let him hit one more time, then you could have got into
I
SPG.
know what I was going for, but I didn't get it. Do I get one more? Is that it?
Yep. You still got a full set.
Okay, I don't want one done.
Round one.
Go.
Get ready. Fight. SMRT.
That's one.
Yeah.
That's one. All right, we getting it.
One throw tech, yeah.
That's 3 JPs.
4 bar cancel as well, nice.
Oh, they're overhead.
Your SPG though.
I went for multi-hitting move. I tried to option like that, but no. I had it. That was the
One more
just a
JD short.
meaty option select, but he did a multi-hit move, so I got blown out.
Fight.
He's just defending more than you.
Oh, he blocked though.
Alright, 4. You need 2 more just to defend.
No way.
5. Ah.
I was trying to get at least 6, but didn't get it.
You still got one more game. Got the run back.
Round one. Get ready. Fight.
Oh, round start Datsu?
Nice. I know we're trying to use this there. You try to empty jump in JD. Well, are you gonna let him hit you so you can get into SPG? That's my question.
I'm trying to throw tag.
Oh, you throw tag!
That's what I'm going for. One more. The anti air. There we go. Okay.
SPG, okay, can you finish?
Let's defend that.
Oh!
Round two. Get ready. Fight. SPG.
Mix it up. Let's go.
Just the turn line.
And now I'm bad at this bingo. I'm trying here. It's hard to balance winning and like bingoing.
Yeah, and he's not doing the stuff that you want him to do. Right?
No, this
He's
guy's
not
playing-
repoing that much. And you got one JP though.
Okay. Trying to get the SPG here. Okay. I definitely.
You are in SPG, yeah.
I tried to just bend that.
Oh, that's a setup. Oh, okay, he knew.
Alright. I tried. That was fun.
How was the bingo? I saw you're trying to do some of the stuff, but sometimes your opponent is not cooperating. He's not giving you rev pool opportunities. He wasn't throwing that much. And talk me through your process.
Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
So my initial idea was to focus on the right side. That's why I put SPG at the end. I was thinking I could win around with less than 5% health, break 3 throws, and then enter SPG and not leave it. So I figured if I won with 5% health, and that would basically mean I'm guaranteed to be an SPG at the end, I could go for that, but it didn't really work out. Then kind of midway through, I'm like, well, I'm fighting a fireball character, so if I just defend against a bunch of fireballs, I just need to get one hyper defense and cancel into like a hidden gear, but that didn't work out either. So, oh well, it was fun. It was fun.
Well, welcome to segment 2, the reset. I'll be asking Chris F some questions related to him being a competitor, leverless expert, and content creator as well. My first question is relating to Chris F as a competitor. At the time of the recording right now, we are 1 week away from EVO Japan, which I know he's attending. How do you prepare for majors, Chris?
Okay, so there's a couple of things I think that everyone should do for majors, and I'll just run you through my basic kind of like set of what I want to check before I'm doing a major. Number one, I check who's in my pool just to see if I can pull up any footage of that person. I think it's really, really important to know who's in your pool, what kind of characters they're playing. But of course, that's going to depend on luck for the most part, because you might not have any information on anybody in your pool. See if you can find if they have like a CFN, if their name matches their CFN, go there, type in their name, see if you can find anything. I think that's really important. But in the odd case where you're at like a really big tournament and you don't know anybody and you can't find any information on anyone in your pool, then I think you just have to do some basic like good practice stuff. Like make sure you know how to fight against your bad matchups. No, like definitely don't just be like, oh, just don't give it up to a bad matchup. Learn your bad matchups. Number two, have a basic game plan. You're going to be fighting a lot of random people. Make sure your basic flow chart is down. This way you know how to run your matches. You don't want to be coming up with a strategy on the fly. Is going to be really important. And then, of course, just doing some basic like good stuff, like make sure you have your execution down, warm up like a week before. I would avoid playing lots of ranked and stuff like that before, because if you end up losing, you're going to put yourself into like a really weird headspace. So just go over your fundamentals, your cash out combos, like your hard combos, your situational awareness, your punishes, work on the mechanical stuff, and just review your replays. And the most important thing with reviewing your replays, I think, is trying to find if you have any habits. Like check your replays, see what do I go for on knockdown? What's like my default? Do I always go for like meaty throw? Do I always go for a meaty attack? Do I always shimmy? Try to see if you have any patterns, because especially someone like me as a content creator, there's lots of footage out there, like Twitch streams and stuff like that, of me playing. So I know my opponents are going to be looking at me and seeing what I tend to default to, and they'll probably kind of assume what I'm going to do in certain situations. So either I can stick to that if I'm confident with my play, or I can try to switch it up and go for a completely different style or different options when I'm fighting people in pools, just so I'm not so, how can I say, predictable when I'm playing. So that's what I would do. And then, of course, when you actually get to the venue and you're there, just generally good things, eat good food, get your macros in, chicken, rice, broccoli, always good for everybody. Make sure you're ready to go, have energy. Bring water, or if you don't bring water, check to see if there's like a water fountain available, like a drinking spot. You can get water at the place, because being dehydrated is really bad, and being dehydrated is one of the easiest ways to kill performance. Like there are studies that show that when you're dehydrated, and it happens quite quickly, your cognitive performance drops very fast. So get that water in. And then just, some other good practice things, like keep your hands warm. Sometimes venues can be really cold, or you get nervous and you get those really weird, like cold hands, and that can mess up your execution. So either like bring some gloves, or just keep your hands in your pocket, rub your hands together, stay warm, and just try to relax and have a good time. So really quickly, that's what I would work on before going into a tournament.
Perfect. Any specific advice in terms of bringing your friends? Should you be with your friends when you compete, or you should just be your own like headspace, going into there alone? Any specific advice on that?
Yeah, I think it's always great to have friends around you, especially if for nothing else, tournaments tend to run late and they're not very punctual, especially really big tournaments. Sometimes you get up to your pool, the pool organizer, the bracket runner, tells you your match is up in 5 minutes, but it ends up being like 45 to 1 hour late sometimes. It's not really common, but it can happen. And I think when that happens, you can get into your own head a bit and you get stressed out and you're just waiting for your match to start and you just build up all this stress. And when you finally get to the match, it just becomes like this huge monumental thing. It's like your match is finally here, and then you're kind of freaking out and then you feel all this pressure. But if you're with your friends, you can yap for a bit, shoot the shit, have fun, laugh, and then when your match actually comes, you'll be relaxed and ready to go. So I think having your friends around is really, really important. And if you don't have friends, whatever, just go around the venue, go check out some stuff, see if there's merch, walk around, see if you can find people other like top players, ask them to sign something. Just have a good time and don't think too much about your match until it starts.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of stuff to do in like more than like majors right now. There's sometimes maybe an arcade cabinet space you can go to. You can go to buy merc. You can actually buy buttons or try out new products, levers. There's also maybe like betas or alphas for different new games. So it's always a fun time, and just don't too stress about it. Would be my advice as well. Question 2. Continuing on your path as a competitor, you went from stick to leverless, and you've done a lot of work in terms of reviewing different brands and provided tips and modifying. Talk me through how you learned leverless, and what do you look for when you pick up a leverless controller?
Okay, so the way I learned leverless is I have a musical background. I was a professional musician in my late teens and early 20s. So for me, learning something new that has like kind of dexterity and like finger stuff that you need to learn is pretty easy because I can use my musical background. Leverless kind of feels like I'm playing something like guitar or piano, so that's not too hard for me. So I just basically, the way I looked at it was I imagine myself as a new fighting game player starting from scratch. I didn't try to carry over my legacy knowledge from my previous controller. I just took it as I'm learning a completely new device, and I learned a new game. Like, I wasn't a Street Fighter V player, but I loaded up Street Fighter V, and I picked a character that I'd never tried. I think I was doing Luke, and I just did like basic stuff. I would just do like 20 Hadokens on the left side. I mean, Luke doesn't have a Hadoken, but you know what I mean. 20 Hadoken motions on the left side, 20 on the right side. Sure, you can from standing, crouching, cross cut, doing stuff in combos, and just trying to approach it as I would be approaching a fighting game as a completely new character. Because I think the hardest thing when learning any new controller, not just learning leverless, is forgetting about your previous skill and not thinking, oh, I could have done this if I was on my main controller. And just kind of that divide between what you know you can do and what you're actually physically able to do on a new device. So I would recommend just starting fresh, pick up a new game, or at the very least a new character. This way you don't come into it with any like existing expectations of yourself, and that'll eliminate a ton of frustration, and then you can just kind of enjoy the controller and just enjoy the whole learning process altogether. So that was my approach, just starting from scratch and not having expectations and going over the basics and the fundamentals and just really grinding, basic mechanical execution and building that muscle memory that you need. Then in terms of what I look for in a controller, I think right now we have kind of an abundance of options in terms of leverless controllers, even regular arcade sticks too. And it can be a little bit tricky to figure out which one is the one for you, just because there are so many options. I don't know. So my advice for somebody buying a new controller or looking to start with a leverless controller, number one, I would say before you start thinking of the controller you want, set a budget. What is your budget? And that's the same for anything. Like if you're trying to build a PC or whatever, first thing I do is set your budget. Once you know how much you're willing or able to spend, then you can start to look at which controller you want to buy. So, I mean, are you looking at the $50 to $100 range, 100 to 150, or like 200 and over? Then what I would suggest for people is, I think customizability and, how can I say, overall adjustments being able to be made to your controller is a huge thing that I personally look for, and I think it's quite important. I like controllers with lots of different buttons, and I think one thing that's really good is to look for a controller that offers a ton of buttons, because it's better to have and not need than to need and not have, and having to drill holes or worry about like PCB issues later on can be a huge headache. So I would say, number one, look for a controller with lots of buttons, because maybe you don't need them, but they're there if you want them. And then customizability, like, can you move the buttons? Does it have like can you move them easily? Can you remove buttons? Like things like the Hitbox Ultra have buttons you can add with the extensions. What is it? The Vitrix. I can't remember the name of the Vitrix, but the new Vitrix leverless. You can add or remove buttons. You can't change the placement, but you can select how many you want. I think that's great. And just looking at that part, I think that's really important. Then if you're a tournament competitor, obviously you have to look at things like, does it have PS5 compatibility out of the box with something like a Brook adapter in it? And if it doesn't, you're gonna have to buy something like a Brook adapter or like a May Flash to give you that PS5 compatibility for tournaments. So when you're factoring in your price, don't forget to check the compatibility of your controller and to ask yourself if you're a tournament player or not, because you're gonna have to factor in another somewhere from like $40 to $100 depending on which device adapter you go for. when buying your controller. So that's another thing that I think you need to look at.
Thank you. Now that you're fully using leverless right now, would you ever go back to arcade stick or tripad? And do you recommending people going back and forth between different controllers?
So for me personally, I am really comfortable on leverless right now. However, I will say I do think some games are more suited to leverless and some games are more suited to pad and arcade stick. And I'm kind of really realizing that now with the release of Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, where I've been playing quite a bit. I'm still not sure if leverless is that much of an advantage in this game just because there are lots of buffers and lots of kind of like strict inputs with like just defend timing, which I feel are a little bit more difficult to do on leverless and kind of benefit from the kind of like the loose and sloppy inputs you can get on an arcade stick or a controller. But I don't want to be one of those guys who's bouncing between like 2 or 3 different controllers between different games. And I think for most people, bouncing between different controllers is a bad idea overall. Unless you're one of those like built different genetic freaks who can balance like 3 different controllers at high level. I think the average person should definitely stick to one controller because if you don't, you're gonna mess up all your muscle memory. You're gonna give yourself way too much practice time to try to stay on point on like all your games, and I think it's just gonna make it an overall frustrating experience. So I'm trying to stick to one controller. I'm trying to not be impatient. I'm gonna try to make leverless work in City of the Wolves. But then for me as a content creator, it's always good to experiment and try new things. So I'll probably end up going to arcade stick like after Evo Japan is over and experiment with Fatal Fury. But for you, the viewer, if you are an average competitor and you're not already like a consistent top 8 placer at majors, message from Chris F, stick to one controller.
Awesome. Question 3. As a content creator, time is of essence. When a new game comes out, you got to pump up content ASAP. How do you figure out game mechanics quickly, and how do you dissect a game when you have no prior experience with the game or the series?
Oh man, first I cry for a while because I know how much work I have to do, and then after that's over, I actually come up with like a game plan. And usually my game plan, I have 2 basic like how can I say content creator flowcharts. Flowchart number 1 is for games that I have experience in. So let's say Street Fighter 6. Elena is dropping in a couple of months, so that's flowchart number 1. New character, but in a game system I already understand. And then flowchart number 2 is a new game altogether where I don't have experience. Something like Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. I didn't play Mark of the Wolves. I didn't really play Third Strike beyond like a super casual level with friends. So I don't understand the system. I don't understand the characters. I have to learn the engine. I have to learn everything. So that's my second flowchart. So for example, Street Fighter 6, new character drops. What am I looking for? I'm using my prior experience of the engine, the system, and what makes characters strong, and just making like a checklist and checking those things. So for example, Elena drops. What am I looking for? Does she have throw loops? What is her best knockdown mid-screen? How does she want to set up her pressure? How can she take advantage of knockdowns after combos? How does she set up her strike throw shimmy game both mid-screen and in the corner? And like what are her best moves? Like what are her best like OD moves or her best normals? What moves lead into punish counter, anti-airs? Like how do you want to use this character in a strong way? That's what I would check, put those things together, lab it out, come up with some setups, some some set play, some mix in the corner, put that all together. Here are your best normals. Here's how you anti-airs. Here's how you play her in neutral. This is what you want to go for. Here's your win condition. Boom. Cut it, edit it, make it a YouTube video. We're done. That's what I'm kind of looking for that. But then the other one where I'm learning a completely new game, like Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, I don't have anything to go off of. So instead of trying to be like the expert and trying to tell everybody what they should be doing day one, I don't take it from an expert position because I don't have any expertise to draw upon. What I'll do instead is I'll take it as I'm learning as I go, and the things that I'm struggling with while I'm learning are probably things that everybody else who is playing this game is struggling with as well, like the average player. So what I'll do is I'll learn a character, I'll hop online, I'll play some rank matches, I'll reflect on some difficult things that are giving me a hard time, like, oh man, I'm trying to like run forward and do fireball, but I keep on getting DP. All right, well, there's an issue that I experienced, and somebody else might have felt that way too, for the most likely. So what I'll do is I'll go into training mode, figure out how to do it, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I just have to TK my fireballs. So now I don't get a DP anymore. Now I get like a run fireball. Okay, good. So how do I do a TK motion? Here's how I do it. I record my hands, make a video. There, that's a topic. That's a content thing. So record the footage, cut it up in Premiere, upload it to YouTube. Boom, done. And I just basically repeat that process amongst everything. It doesn't have to be like combo things or execution. It can be like, how do you beat people who are doing backdash on wake up. How do you mix between strike, throw, shimmy in Fatal Fury? Those kind of things. So I just try to look at it from the perspective of a new player, and if it's something I'm struggling or something I don't understand in the game, everyone else probably is going through the same thing, so I'll make content about that. And then just learn as I go and try to build up as much knowledge as I can as quickly as possible.
Awesome, thank you. Question 4. As a player who has experiences with older title like Street Fighter 4 or KOF 13, we certainly come a long way in modern titles when it comes to graphics, netcode, and matchmaking. For me, one aspect that is often overlooked is the improvement in training mode in modern titles, especially Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8. What are some of the functions you think are underutilized, and any specific advice on how to use them?
Yeah, so underutilized things, I have 3 right off the top of my head. So the number one most underutilized thing is actually doing stuff other than just practicing your combos in training mode, which everybody does way too much, in my opinion. Of course, knowing your combos is important. You have to know how to do damage. If you're not doing damage, you're not going to win nothing. But if that's all you're doing in training mode, man, you're wasting your time, in my opinion. So definitely learn character matchups. Use features like replay takeover. Look over your matchups, learn what's punishable, what's not punishable, what are some strong moves your opponent has, find out the counters to those strong moves, and figure out like why you're losing or even why you're winning, and ask yourself that question: why am I losing? Why am I winning? Through the replay takeovers. So don't just do combo practice in training mode. Try to push yourself in other ways. The second most underutilized feature in most training modes, if your game has it, and I know Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 has it, Fatal Fury has this as well. I'm not going to count it because it's pretty trash, but save states. So save states are really important. They can cut down on training time. Instead of labbing a whole combo, you can make a save state just at the part that you're struggling with. Make a macro to load your save state and just practice that. Or if it's something more defensive, if you're setting up the opponent to do either like throw into, I don't know, like meaty attack, like 2 different meaty attacks, for example, Street Fighter 6, you can practice your perfect parry timing, make a save state just a little bit before the attack hits you. This way you're not always going through the whole like throw, knockdown, walk forward, meaty animation. Because I think the thing you have to remember is for the average person who isn't like a top full-time competitor, you only have so many hours in the day or the week to dedicate to your training time. And it doesn't seem like much, but let's say you're practicing how to, I don't know, delay throw tech a meaty in Street Fighter 6, delay throw tech a meaty throw. If you're doing the whole animation of the character throwing you, walking up, and doing throw or doing a meaty attack, that whole animation over the course of like 5 or 10 minutes is going to end up being like maybe half or even more of your practice time. If you lay that out throughout a week, those 5 minutes might end up being like 20 minutes or 30 minutes of just the character animation of walking up to you. And that's not actually practice. That was 20 or 30 minutes you just kind of lost. But if you use a save state, you can cut that animation and just practice the timing of the one thing you're trying to learn in that instance. And then instead of practicing for 20 minutes and only actually getting 10 minutes of practice, now you're practicing for 20 minutes and getting 20 minutes of practice. So definitely do save states. Then the third thing, which I kind of touched upon on my first one, but definitely replay takeover if your game has it. But again, don't just do the will it kill kind of style stuff in replay takeover. Yes, that's really important, but also just look at your overall spacing and like your game plan and see if you can work on that. One thing I love doing that I've been working on lately a lot in Street Fighter 6 is using replay takeover to check my spacing on my normals. So what I'll do is I'll watch a replay and I'll see how many times I used a certain move. Let's just say, to make things easy, crouching medium kick with Ken. And I'll say, okay, in this match, I pushed crouching medium kick 10 times, but I only connected 4 out of 10 times. That's a 40% success rate. So why am I whiffing this move so much? So I'll go into the replay, use replay takeover, and adjust my spacing and try to make contact with the opponent in the replay takeover. It doesn't matter if it hits, doesn't matter if it's blocked. All that matters is I made contact and I'm fixing my spacing. Then what I'll do is I'll take that same approach. I'll go into a casual match or a battle hub match, and I'll try to say like, okay, I'm only going to use like crouching medium kick and standing hard punch just to make things simple. And my goal for this match is not to win. My goal for this match is to connect those moves with my opponent as much as possible because I'm trying to practice my footsies, my spacing. Then I'll watch that replay and I'll count again how many times I used that move and how many times I connected. So maybe this time I got 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. Great. I'll make a note in my notebook or my phone. And then the next time I go into my practice session, I'll do a warm-up, hop into a ranked match, hop into a casual match, do the exact same thing, check how many times I hit it, and then adjust my spacing from there. So just a constant loop of using replay takeover to check your spacing, adjust your spacing. How should I have moved? Okay, great. Learn that movement, apply it in a low stress environment, casual or battle hub, work on it, improve it, then apply what you learned to rank match, watch again, reflect, and see where you have to go from there. And if you do that, eventually you should see that number go from like a 4 out of 10 to maybe a 6, 7, 8, or maybe even a 10 out of 10. So that's one thing I think a lot of people don't do, and it's been helping me a lot lately. So if you haven't tried it, try it. It's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's also something that I'm not using as much as well. Like obviously, like you said, I'll check for like will it kill scenarios or whether I can specifically do a defensive option that can beat a setup or do I block the right way or not. But yeah, I haven't been checking a lot of whiff punishes and things like that. And I think in my level at like high master level, people are whiffing button left, right, and center, and same for me as well. So that's definitely helpful when it comes to improving my gameplay. Question 5. Let's say we did all that. We chose the right controller, we studied the game, we play online, we fully utilize training mode. But it can also get lonely on the path of improvement in playing, fighting games. Tell me what the role of attending offline events have helped you with that.
So I think that playing fighting games strictly online can, unless you're built different and you're just like a madman, it can be a really, really depressing, really sad experience after the first couple of weeks. Because fighting games, you're playing by yourself. You don't have a team. You got to hold all your losses and both your wins and your losses. They're 100% on you. And if you're kind of struggling either in your main game or a new game, once you start losing a lot, you can get really down on yourself really fast. And there's no in-game chat. And if there is, it's usually really toxic. So that doesn't really help the problem. If anything, it makes things significantly worse. So that's not good. So I don't know. I feel like online fighting games do everything in their power to make you hate yourself. So I would suggest I just think offline events, whether it's like a weekly local in your city or a town, or whether it's majors, those kind of events are the glue that holds everything together in your overall enjoyment of fighting games and your growth as a player. Yeah, of course you can get really good just grinding online, but I think you're losing out on a huge aspect of fighting games if you're not enjoying the community part. I know, speaking from experience, when I started playing KOF 13 back in 2012 ish, the online didn't work for that game. Like, it existed, but it was unplayable. So my only access to the community and the game at a competitive level was at locals, and that's where I met my KOF community. That's where they taught me how to play the game, and that's where I met my best friends for life. The only friends who I really still keep in contact with, not from elementary school, high school, university, my real true friends that I still hold dear to this day are the friends that I met at my local playing KOF 13. So for me, I love fighting games, and I'm so happy that I decided to play them, that I was able to have this experience and become a content creator, competitor kind of thing. But more than that, it's the friends that I met at my local that I'm most thankful for. So I think if you're not going out to locals, definitely go. The first time's always a little bit weird. You can be shy. It's sometimes hard to introduce yourself to people, but just tell people hi, I'm new at this game. I suck. Help me suck less, and you're gonna make friends. Trust me. Just go do it. It'll make the whole experience much better, and definitely better than staying on Twitter all day and just reading doomer shit. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's also a great way to learn about the game and make friends, and maybe they have other discords that you don't have access to, and you can find more information on those discord and find more people to play online. And I always find when playing online, if you do if you know that person, if you go on voice chat, it's usually helpful as well because they can give you instant feedback, which is similar to an offline setting, but definitely offline. It just beats everything. I think it's you will have the best experience there when playing a fighting game. So we're here with the Explain the Shit segment. Basically, we looked into your X profile and we look at sort of the hot takes that you have, and we're just gonna grill you there. The first one is a recent one where you posted COTW, City of the Wolf Beta is cheeks, and you have that little screenshot thumbnail there. Now that the actual game is out, do you still stand by your comments, or there's a sort of change of perspective?
Yeah, so I think you're talking about the thumbnail from the first City of the Wolves beta, where I basically have Terry with a big chunky ass in there.
Yes.
I can't say his cheeks. I still 100% stand by that. I thought beta 1 was really bad. Beta 2, for the most part, they fixed a lot of the online issues that I had a big problem with in the beginning of for all of beta 1. But even still to this day, like on release, other than the gameplay itself, and I've said this so many times, if you guys watch my streams, you know, I keep on saying nothing but praise for the actual gameplay. I think the system is really good. It's a deep, multi-layered game. We're 1 week into this. We're starting to see some top tiers, but I don't think we've really scratched the surface. The meta has not really been fully developed yet because of all the defensive options. This game is deep and layered. And I think it's the most deep, layered, and kind of old school fighting game release we've had in a really long time, barring something like Virtua Fighter 5, which isn't really like a new game, if you know what I mean. But in terms of the game as an overall package, I still feel really strongly that it's just not up to par to what I would expect for a full price title game in 2025. And I'm not even talking about like the sweaty shit, like training mode and things like that. I just mean as an overall package. The menu UI, I think, is pretty much inexcusable for 2025. Doing things like room lobbies, the room code you have to send to your friends. When you invite somebody to a lobby match or room match, whatever it's called, you don't even get a notification on your end that somebody invited you. There's no pop-up window or anything. You just have to kind of like use your spider sense, or go to somebody on Discord, be like, hey, I invited you. Oh, did you really? Okay, let me check my messages. Oh yeah, you did. Then you enter the room there. It's just a big mess. It's a very frustrating experience. There are some good things, like jukebox mode is really, really cool. The color edit, I think, is wonderful. It's a great job. It's really fun, but I just don't think it feels like a game that was released 2 years after Street Fighter 6, if you know what I mean. If you compare it to a 1-to-1 feature like basis, it feels like Street Fighter 6 was released 2 years after this, or not two, maybe like 6 or 7, but you know what I mean. I just think there's a lot for this game to kind of improve upon, and yeah, as a total package, it's lacking, and I still feel really strongly about that. This beta is cheeks. I'm not backtracking on that. It was cheeks.
Yeah, and of course there are people, defending it and says it's just a beta, right? And I also found another tweet that you basically says BRB muting the words "is just a beta." And what do you think about that when people say it's just a beta and there is room for improvement for sure?
I think people who say it's just a beta are NPCs, first of all, really. And if you're listening and you're an NPC, yeah, that's what I think. But no, it's true. Like, I mean, history always repeats itself, and I can't think of a fighting game in recent times that has released a beta that has deviated fully on release from what we saw in the beta. There are some slight adjustments. Like I remember Street Fighter 5, like some people lost access to combos and stuff like that, or like different moves didn't have different properties. Like Street Fighter 6, Kimberly used to have an invulnerable OD Tatsu, like so she had an invulnerable option on Wake Up, and she lost that in the final version. But for the most part, like the game pretty much releases fairly close to what the beta is actually like. Maybe online improves, like matchmaking and stuff like that gets better, and there's like less rollback and things. But at a base level, the beta is what it is. And the reason why I said I was going to mute just a beta for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is because that beta released 2 months prior to release. Now, I'm not a programmer or nothing, and I don't know nothing about that kind of like development stuff, but I think it's kind of common knowledge that you can't really change that much in a game 2 months out from release. And like not even just games, like just stuff in life, things that you're working on for 2 or 3 years, the last 2 months, like you're pretty much done. There's only so many changes you're going to be able to make. So for me, that beta was pretty much telling me exactly how the game was going to be. So if you're telling me don't say it's just a beta 2 months out from release, I just know you're just not thinking. Like you're just not real at that point. So yeah, I just completely ignored that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that, like you said, there's only limited time that they can change something. And if you want to change something, you might break something else, right? So they probably take the safe route and say, well, we'll change the low hanging fruits, and then if we do what we can, but for the most stuff, we'll wait till the end of season 1 or season 2 or whatever to fix whatever they want.
But yeah, I think that's really dangerous though, because like I don't want to focus in just on Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, but for like any fighting game, I think that's a really dangerous thing because man, most games, but I think especially fighting games, just because they're niche and they're not as big as other games, they live and die by like their day one or like at least week one reputation. Like people still meme on Street Fighter Five, and that game ended up being a really good fighting game by the end of its final season or the final two seasons. That game was really good. I didn't like it personally, but in terms of an actual game, it was really good. But because it had such a bad launch, people still meme on it. There's still people still think KOF 15 matchmaking is broken. It's not. They fixed it, but it took them like 2 years. So I think it's just really dangerous from like a business perspective, even if you're putting together a product for the fighting game community, to release something that has so many issues on release, because that's all people are going to remember and they're not going to change their opinion no matter what you do after.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's always going to be people that are diehard fans, and you can feed them anything and they will eat it. And then there's probably other fighting game people who also play other fighting games where, once they find another more fun fighting game, they're just gonna deviate to that, right? So, and then you have the casuals player, which if on day one things don't work out for them, they're just gonna be like, what am I spending my money for? I'm just gonna go back to play, other popular titles, right? So I do think that day one release is already the most important, is like super important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Finally, last one, which I'm actually, to my surprise, I didn't see it when you first like tweeted it, but it says there's pizza ramen in Japan, and you're saying two goats together at last, and I was super surprised by that. Talk me through the taste and the flavor and everything.
Yeah, so like first of all, like pizza ramen, that was OD, man. That shit was good. It was. You're probably thinking it tastes like ramen on pizza, but it's kind of a lie. It's like just ramen noodles with on top of pizza, so it's carbs with carbs. So perfect post leg day. Got to carb up, get those macros in. I was a huge fan. Pump up those squats, come home to ramen pizza. What more could you ask for? It was great. It was kind of wild. It was super salty, but it was delicious. And they don't sell it anymore. So Japan has like all these like kind of say time limited special items that are only available for like 2 weeks or a month, and then they never come back, and they love it. So that was one of the highlights. But I've tried some other ones. I know sometimes I think they've done like sushi pizza or something else in the past, or maybe that was like a long time ago. But they do some really weird unhinged ones, or even like strawberries on stuff that strawberries shouldn't be on top of, or nothing like that. But I don't know. The ramen pizza was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
So ramen noodles okay, and pineapples is okay or no?
No, no.
No,
Pineapples
okay.
are no good. If pineapple on pizza is not pizza, this is my Italian pride coming through. I can't ever eat that.
I took it and threw it on the ground.
Okay, got it. No problem. One more question for you, which is from our audience. This is a question from CNQ12, our multiple time WIF City Street Fighter 6 champion. He also does coaching on the side. So his question is, as a coach, I would like to know the approach you would take when your client requires some certain mechanical technique to improve, such as being able to do links. I show them how, give them tips, and get them to train it, but sometimes they just struggle to proceed and get discouraged. I don't know how it could help any further as a coach in this situation. I would love to know your thought process on that one.
So I think coaching people or trying to teach people mechanical things is one of the hardest things to do. Not just in fighting games, or I mean even like in music, because I used to be like a professional musician, so I did music lessons back then too. It's really hard because you can show all the techniques possible. You can give the best explanation in the world, but when it comes to mechanical things, it's really down to the person practicing to like sit down, grind, and get it. So I think as a coach, of course it's important to actually teach people how to do it mechanically. If there's any tips or tricks you can do to kind of make things easier, like kind of like plinking or double tapping a button, those kind of things to reduce the execution requirements, you definitely got to teach that. But more than that, I think it's important to kind of be like the emotional support and to not let the person get frustrated, and try to show them how to practice without getting frustrated. So instead of doing a combo for 1 hour that you can't get, practice it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, take a break, come back to it, make a save state on the part you're struggling with. Just practice that one part until you feel more comfortable with it. Did you get it? Did you get a little bit better at it? Good. Take a break, come back, do it again, then take a step back, like chunk it, use chunking, and doing those kind of techniques. So I kind of got ahead of myself there, but teaching your client or your student things like chunking, time management, effective practice techniques, time management, how to not get frustrated, how to not just look at the final result as being your end goal, but breaking it up into smaller pieces. Like, okay, I got the first half of this combo more consistent this time. I got it maybe 6 times out of 10. I didn't get the whole combo, but I got better doing the first half. Good, that's progress. And as long as we're making a little bit of progress every day, eventually you're going to be able to get it. And then once you get it, great, now we have a new goal. Now we have to get the whole thing consistently. And then again, instead of worrying about getting it perfect 10 times in a row the whole time, just start to do it like 2 times out of 10. Then every day you practice 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. As you keep on repeating, keep on practicing, your success rate should go up. So I would just say try to focus on reducing the students' frustration levels and teaching them effective learning and practice techniques to reduce that frustration, rather than just honing in on the actual execution part and just being like, yeah, it's like this, do it, just practice. Like, actually give support and help the actual practice process would be my advice.
We have here Grimstien, our local player who main game is Tekken 8, and just because City of the Wolves just came out, he wanted to try a 2D game as well.
Hello, I'm Grimstien. I'm from the small town that's next to Barrie, Angus. Overall, I say I'm a Tekken player, but I mostly play it because it's the easier game to get into overall compared to other fighting games. And I wouldn't say I'm a great Tekken player, but I at least know what I'm doing in most situations.
Okay. All right, Hotaro's already in overheat. And then usually what I do when I'm watching a replay, and for replay review, either for myself or for other people, the first time I just watch it the whole way through and just try to get a general overall feel of how the flow of the match went, and just look for any like big issues in either my play or the person's play that I'm reviewing, and then just seeing if there are any big overlying reasons why either why you won or lost. And I think the most important thing to do when you're watching a review is to ask yourself, why did I win or why did I lose? And you can make it like one small reason or even just like a big overarching reason to figure out why. And if you don't know the answer to that question, whether it's a win or a loss, that's kind of your sign that you have to ask other people for help. And also maybe a sign that you don't really have enough of a grasp of the game overall. Okay, nice. Goes for the meaty pressure. Do a reset. Alright, into the super. Oh, whiffs. Punish. Nice. So first thing I can say right off the bat, just from the first round and a half of this, is that for Kevin, needs some work on the hit confirms. Was getting some good hits, was winning in neutral, but they're not actually like capitalizing on that, not being able to get like the best damage off of it. So that would be my number one thing looking at this replay. The Hotaru player wasn't like super solid, made a bunch of mistakes themselves, but just really wanting to capitalize off the wins, because Kevin has super high damage. So if you're not able to take advantage of that, you're not really playing the character.
Okay. I feel like every time I was trying to do the moves, it's like, I guess the way I can word it is, when I was seeing the moves input in the like the mission things modes where it was saying it, it would say up close type situation with it, and sometimes the moves would be successful and sometimes they would not, but it was always in the same position. I feel like I was doing the same hits in the same position, the exact same input, but for some reason it would, like 1 second delay, literally make it so that those moves could fail.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, you have close and far normals, unlike something like Street Fighter 6 or Tekken. So knowing your spacing is kind of a tricky thing. You have to know that. The first mistake you're making is using the combo trials. The combo trials in this game are trash. You just want to disregard that altogether. Just skip it. That's not what you want to be doing. I think for a game like this, especially when you're learning for the first time, like, I mean, I was playing Kevin, I was labbing him last night on stream. I think one of the most important things you can do is just have like 2 combos on deck that you can whip out effectively and easily. They don't have to be super high damage combos. Just when you're learning a character, just make sure it's something consistent and easy to do. So something off of like 2 lights, and then something off of a punish. Like if you block a DP in your face,
Okay.
you go for your max damage punish. You got those 2 combos on deck, and then you just whip them out in a match. And then for the rest of the match, you're just trying to like win neutral and just play like good defense.
Alrighty. Yeah, that makes sense. As a whole, I think that it's when I compared this to when I was playing like Street Fighter 6 before type situation, I feel like there is a bit of a difference overall, not just with the impacts, but also like just how the strings seem to work. Cause like when I was trying things like Shaheen in Street Fighter 6 or like Ed, the moves always feel like they are what's the word I'm looking for? Always leaving space that I could add more, but because of how I'm playing, I don't know how to add those.
Well, first of all, like Street Fighter 6 has a built-in 5-frame buffer, so whenever you're linking moves, it's actually I feel much easier to link normals into another normal, like something like a standing medium punch into a crouching medium punch. That stuff is generally easier to do just because of the buffer in Street Fighter 6. City of the Wolves, I don't know the frames on it, but I don't feel like it has that much of a buffer on normal. Special, the buffer is huge. You can hold the button down, it'll come out automatically. So for that part, it's easier. But then also Street Fighter 6 is generally like 1 or 2 moves into special, no matter which
Yeah.
character you're playing, like a standing medium punch, crouching medium punch, go into your special or a dry rush. This game though, depending on how close you are, you can do like close heavy into feint into another heavy into maybe like a standing light kick, or just go into your your OD, what is it, Rev Art, and go into that. So trying to I feel like coming at this game from like a Street Fighter 6 perspective kind of throws you off a bit just because the games are so different, and I think it's
Yeah.
really better just look at this game as its own thing and try to forget about most of your combo experience in Street Fighter 6.
All right. What about with Tekken? Because in general, when I was playing this, this uses a 4-button system, so like how Tekken does. Obviously they're a bit different. In Tekken, each button is basically a limb. Meanwhile here it's type like normal and heavy, and then like so normal punch, heavy punch, and normal kick, heavy kick. And then there's like grabs is pretty much the same overall. And then there's the extra stuff that you can add on.
Yeah, for me, as someone who plays multiple games, I try my best to just not think about the other game that I'm playing when I'm doing this. So let's say I was only playing Tekken for a couple
Yeah.
of years and I came to this, I would try to forget as much Tekken experience in terms of like button layout and moves. And I think the worst thing you can do is try to frame it from the game that you came from. I think that
Yeah,
just causes
that's
a lot of
true.
issues. It's important. You can definitely use like the situational awareness, like spacing and just like reading opponents, and things like learning setups, set play, mix options, those kind of things. You can use that experience from previous games. But if you try to look at it from the perspective of that player, I think it sets you up for loss really quickly. Like I know on
Yeah.
my streams when people are asking for coaching, they'll be like, "Oh, Chris, I'm a Tekken player who just picked up either Street Fighter 6 or Mark of the Wolves. Like, who's the equivalent to Jin?" I'm like, there is no equivalent to Jin. It's a different game. Like, don't
Yeah.
you're setting yourself
I
up for failure right there.
mean,
Don't go there.
it's sort of like how I don't try to do that because when I was also trying things like Third Strike, there's the boxer Dudley, right?
Mm.
And instead of having him have any kicks whatsoever, they made it so that all his low kick moves are a different punch style. Which, if you were to compare to Steve in Tekken 8, is completely different, since Steve's kicks leg moves are actually him strafing. It's rather than having the legs be attacks, they're just movement advantage that he has compared to other people. So it would be like picking a boxer in a 2D fighter compared to picking a boxer in a 3D fighter. It can be completely different play styles entirely.
Absolutely. I think that's just how guys say it. It's on you as a
Yeah.
player to be able to kind of segregate that in your mind and just make sure you have like a box in your brain for like Tekken Steve and how he works, and like a box in your mind for like Street Fighter Third Strike Dudley and how he works. You have to kind of break those up.
It's also basically how grapplers can be playing 2 different ways, and depending on the game you're talking about too.
Absolutely. Okay, then I'll just
Surprisingly,
kind of
I've only lost 2 out of the 8 I've played, so
All right, so this is a loss at the rookie 5 rank. So again, kind of like the win we just watched, I'm just going to basically look at this, try to see what kind of issues there were, what kind of mistakes. This is a loss, so if we can try to find an overarching reason as to why the Kevin lost, we'll be able to kind of figure out steps for improvement and ways to move forward after this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so round 1, again, Kevin versus Hotaru, same matchup as before. Backdashing, using space. Okay, so you're really patient neutral. I'd like to see some universal anti-airs, like the high dodge against jumps at that range. That's a really prime range to do it. Kevin can do universal high dodge into quarter circle back A, get an anti-air there. And then generally in this game right there, if you're full jumping at your opponent, you kind of want to mix it up with a full jump into just defend, like just kind of option select. This way, if they do decide to anti-air you, you'll at least be able to block it because you can just defend on full jumps in this game. Okay, nice wake up pressure again there. Kind of missing the 2-hit confirms. You should always be going for light punch into quarter circle forward light kick on that. Nice job on the rev blow. Sets up meaty pressure again. There, you're going for the roll. You don't want the roll. You want quarter circle forward light kick. You eat a super because of that. Waking up with crouching hard kick, probably not the best idea. It's a slow button. You don't really want to wake up with heavies in this game. Meaties are quite strong. And this game has a lot of defensive option selects you can use to kind of cover yourself on defense, which are way stronger than waking up with buttons. All right, so round 2, same thing, jumping forward, not doing just defend. Good job just defending that fireball. Unfortunately, just a weird spacing thing there. Getting up, again, mashing on wake up, so you're getting hit. I just think there's too much jumping and too much button presses on wake up from you at this point.
Yeah, I do admit that.
Yeah, so overall, when I'm watching this... Sorry, go ahead.
Up, not jumping type situation. So whenever I press up with these types of games, and I know I should be trying not to think with the Tekken mind style, but every time I press up, I'm thinking of like the whole strafing to the left.
So in that case, it just sounds like it's a matter of you putting a little bit more time to this game. And if you're a person who doesn't have a ton of time to play online and everything and doesn't want to like destroy their rank, when you're learning a new game and you're coming from something like a 3D game, I think it's totally worth just like fighting the CPU, like a low level CPU, just to get a handle of the mechanic, just to like, understand how the game feels when you're moving around. And I think CPU is more than fine in the beginning just to get used to the game. You don't actually have to be like doing like real sweaty training online. All right, so lost that one. So again, just overall, I would say my overall feelings on this just feels like you're not really comfortable with either the game or the character or the systems, because most of the stuff you were doing are kind of, how can I say, very high risk, very low reward things. And then when you were getting the reward for them, like getting like 2 standing light punches, you weren't able to convert into a combo. So it's kind of like you're taking all this risk, but you can't get the reward off it. So it's not really worth going for. So I would just say for you in training mode, number 1 is going to be work on your 2-hit confirms. Set the dummy to random guard and just practice doing like crouching light punch, standing light punch, quarter circle forward light kick. This way, at least you're getting damage. You're converting off that. Number 2, second thing I would do, I would record the dummy just throwing you in the corner, running up and doing something like meaty close hard kick or meaty close heavy punch, and then just get used to blocking it. And then in this game, unlike Street Fighter 6, you can't get thrown meaty on wake up as long as you don't roll. If you get up on place.
Throws.
There's a throw protection window, so you can't get meaty thrown frame 1. So what you can do is you can just block for a little bit and then input like a delayed throw tech, and that'll cover you in a really basic way from both wake up meaty attacks and slightly delayed wake up throws. They're not meaty throws, but let's call them meaty throws. It'll protect you from both. Delayed throw tech isn't the strongest defensive option in this game, but at a beginner level, it'll cover you from both, and it's easy to do. So I would recommend practicing that and just getting used to what it feels like to block on wake up and then just input a throw a little bit after that.
All right. That sounds easy enough to remember.
And then just some little awareness things, like when you're jumping, just try mixing in like a full jump and then kind of mashing back when you jump. And this way, if they do an anti-air DP, you'll be able to get the just defend on that. You don't need to worry about getting the punish on the blocked DP when you do just defend. Just get used to the concept of like jumping forward and covering your forward jump with a just defend, because it's pretty safe for the most part. The only way people are going to blow you up with that is if they have like what do you call it, jump air throws. And if you're jumping like habits become a little bit predictable, they might just jump up and throw you. But that'll be once you get past like rookie 5 rank. So for now, just get used to forward jumping and just kind of like mashing on back to get that just defend.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, all you really need to do to start getting better, number one, is just like learning your two-hit confirms. Number two, blocking on wake up, and then number three, trying to do just defend when you jump forward, and then that should set you up for winning more, I think.
All right,
Ready.
Grimstien, how did you feel?
Well, honestly, yeah, I think it really did help a little bit overall. I think one of the things though I did like was learning that basically just forget everything about Tekken. When I'm trying to learn Fatal Fury, I always when I was growing up thinking that if I play one fighting game, what I learned there was gonna help me with with other fighting games. Like so, if I try a 2D fighting game, from one way, it's gonna teach me another. But now I think about it with that thought process in mind, it makes a lot of sense with why I keep on failing overall to get into these types of games, and that's mostly because I keep on thinking I'm actually starting off as a professional or something, when in reality I should be thinking of myself as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. Just don't let because some of the games, the game mechanics might be different. You might have to learn something new. Obviously the fundamentals do apply, but
Yeah,
it's always good
but
to keep the
these
open mind
with
for it. Yeah, for sure.
But it's sort of like how back when I was trying Virtua Fighter 5 when after getting really into Tekken 8. And it's like I was thinking that because people said it was like 3D fighter, they're gonna play the same style. But it's like that game plays completely different to what I feel in Tekken. So, especially since it has like a guard button, and that difference was making it so that I was stubbornly thinking that the game was a bad game. When in reality, I should be trying to see it as me actually needing to learn the fundamentals of the gameplay itself overall.
Yeah,
And right
100%. Yeah.
And right now with Fatal Fury, I'm just glad to know that I trying to figure out more with the blocking, error block on awake, and like two hit inputs. I'm gonna keep on trying to do that like every day. Even if it's just with a CPU instead of like with online people, because I've played the single verses in this thing, and I will say that the CPU kicks my ass more times than I like to admit. So now knowing that it's might actually be a good idea just to practice with that, it actually does uh, give me hope to that I'll improve overall.
Yeah, and I think facing fighting the CPU is a good it's a good experience if
Yeah,
you have something that you labbed in training mode and then you can try it on sort of a low pressure environment without going to rank. Because once
yeah,
you get to rank, you don't want to lose, and then you might lose sight of what you actually want to train or
yeah.
practice. And so I definitely recommend playing a CPU just to get the feel of the game. Well, thank you for your time, Crimstein. Anywhere we can find you online?
Well, if you're looking just to find me, like just to watch it, there's usually on Twitch. I go under the username Concane. If it's for, I usually play things like Magic the Gathering and other games I've got interested in. So but whatever people suggest, I'm also down to trying out and giving a go. And other than that, if you're ever in MTG Arena, there is a Discord group called the Brawl Hub. I usually do well there, especially since I usually do top 12 for the upcoming releases of sets for them. And overall, it's a great time to play, get some competitive games in mind, and grows a community.